talk more about this massive deal that has just been signed in Montreal in Canada to protect nature and biodiversity. Sophie, you saw from one of our podcasts, which is called The Climate Question, is with me now. Just making sure I got that right for people who want to go on to BBC Sounds and listen to it. I thought it was interesting talking to Elliot earlier about some of the commitments, the headline things that have been made. But what we didn't outline, Sophie, is just what kind of crisis we're looking at in terms of nature and biodiversity. Can you outline the scale of the challenge ahead?
Yeah, it's huge, Lucy. So the latest report from the World Wildlife Foundation says that 69% of the world's animal populations have been in decline since 1970. And in some parts of the world, that's even worse. So Latin America and Caribbean, that goes up to 94%. And we're told by experts that species are actually going extinct 1,000 times faster than the natural rate, which is really upsetting, not only for the species themselves and, living in a beautiful planet, but also for climate change, because together these species and ecosystems play a vital role in capturing carbon. And experts have told us that actually keeping to our goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees is going to be impossible if we don't protect nature. So the stakes are really high, and that's why this summit in Montreal was seen as a make or break time.
I mean, those figures that you just gave us are pretty heartbreaking, actually, when you think about it. And so when we look at some of the commitments that have been made, in your mind, Sophie, what's the most significant thing that we should be looking at that's come out of this conference that will make a real difference quickly?
Well, the landmark deal is to protect 30% of the world's oceans and land by 2030. So that's the key deal, and it is the biggest commitment that's ever been made in terms of area. Also really key, I think, is the money that's been put forward, and that's $30 billion by the end of the decade. Now, it's nowhere near enough.
I was about to say, is that enough? It sounds like a lot, but...
It sounds like a lot, but it's not. So experts have estimated that we might need up to $600 billion to save nature, but it's a start. I mean, developing countries wanted more money. They called for a special biodiversity fund to be created at this conference. That was rejected. Instead, some money has been put forward, and we'll be looking at this again next time the world meets to talk about nature.
So very briefly then, what's the biggest failing in this summit?
Well,
lack of money, do you think?
Could say it's lack of money. I mean, if we talk about $600 billion needed and $30 billion promised, that is a big problem. And especially if you are a developing country, which is also a biodiversity hotspot, for example, Democratic Republic of Congo, Indonesia, Brazil. These were all countries who were saying, we need more money put forward to protect nature. And the Democratic Republic of Congo actually expressed opposition to the deal that has been nevertheless put forward. There's a little bit of confusion about how that happened. Of course, this is a country with a huge amount of rainforest. It's got most of the Congo basin. And also, it's a poor country. They need to develop. So money needs to be put forward to enable these countries to protect their precious natural resources.
Indeed, of course. Sophie, very good to have you with us with The Climate Question, wherever you get your podcasts from.